It's January 1841. Rain taps against the windows of the boarding house in Springfield, Illinois. Inside, in a dim room, Abraham Lincoln sits motionless. The legislature is in session. He should be there, but he isn't. His friends have quietly removed the knives from his room. The air is heavy, the kind of heaviness that settles into your chest and stays there. Lincoln will later call this his fatal first, the first time his mind completely crashed. Not a slow decline, but a sudden system failure. One moment the program was running, the next everything went dark. In that quiet room with rain falling outside, Lincoln experienced something the 1840s called melancholy. We might call it severe depression. But words don't capture the weight, the silence, the way time moves differently when your mind betrays you. This is a story about that glitch in the code, and how one man learned to run the program anyway. Because sometimes the bugs we carry become part of who we are, and sometimes we learn to work around them. Lincoln called it hypochondriasis, a Victorian word that meant something different then. It wasn't about imagining illness. It was the weight of existing, the feeling that your own mind had become uninhabitable. In a letter to his best friend Joshua Speed, Lincoln wrote, "I am now the most miserable man living. If what I feel were equally distributed to the whole human family, there would not be one cheerful face on earth." Imagine writing those words. Imagine feeling them so deeply you had to put them on paper. Today we'd recognize the symptoms, the inability to function, the darkness that doesn't lift, the thoughts that spiral. But in 1841 there were no diagnoses, no treatment plans, no therapist offices with soft lighting and comfortable chairs. There was just the weight. And the question, how do you keep running when the operating system keeps crashing? How do you debug a mind that won't cooperate? Lincoln didn't have answers, but he found workarounds, patches in the code that let him keep functioning even when the system wanted to shut down. Lincoln's first coping mechanism was humor. Dark, self-deprecating humor that reframed his pain. When someone commented on his appearance, he replied that he must be the ugliest man in America. The other man disagreed. Lincoln responded, "Then you must be right, for I always said that if I ever met a man uglier than myself, I'd shoot him." Then he paused, "And if you're uglier than I am, I'd better shoot you." It's proto-cognitive behavioral therapy, reframing the narrative, finding the absurdity. But humor wasn't enough. Lincoln needed something else. Work. Endless, consuming work. During the Civil War, while the nation tore itself apart, Lincoln barely slept. He read dispatches late into the night, reviewed battle plans, met with generals, wrote speeches. It wasn't healthy, but it worked. The processor was occupied. When your mind is busy calculating solutions to impossible problems, it has less bandwidth for despair. The depression was still there, running in the background, but the foreground was full. He also wrote letters, speeches, notes to himself. The Gettysburg Address, 272 words that redefined a nation, was written during one of his darkest periods. Perhaps the darkness helped. When you've sat in that dim room with the rain falling, you understand impermanence. You understand that nothing is guaranteed. Not happiness, not survival, not even yourself. And from that understanding comes clarity, a different kind of strength. Imagine Lincoln on a modern therapist's couch. SSR is prescribed, talk therapy scheduled, CBT workbooks, mindfulness apps. Would they have helped? Perhaps. Would they have fixed him? Maybe. But here's the uncomfortable question. Would a fixed Lincoln have been the same Lincoln? Would the man without the bug have led the nation through its darkest hour? Would he have found the words to hold a broken country together? Some bugs aren't meant to be patched. Some glitches in the code become essential to how the program runs. Lincoln's melancholy gave him empathy. It gave him patience. It gave him the ability to sit with unbearable weight and keep moving forward anyway. Not because the weight disappeared, but because he learned to carry it. Perhaps that's the real lesson. Not that we need to debug ourselves, not that we need to run perfectly, but that we can function, even with errors in the code, even when the system crashes, even when the rain keeps falling,